Oh, okay.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Laramie County University of Wyoming Extension. And this is with the Master Gardeners, Gardening for Success. And today we're going to talk about fairy gardens and how to start and grow for fairy gardens. What we're looking at right now are little plants that will eventually be incorporated into the fairy garden. So as you can see, there is a huge variety plants that will work for this. Susie, do you want to talk about any of these plants and give us some names?
Well, these are succulents. Here is a cactus, a jade plant, and there's such a variety in here that I don't remember them all. But I want to show especially the fact that you can get new succulents by planting a leaf. See that one? I don't know if you can focus on it, get it tight enough. How the leaf starts to dry up and gives you a new plantlet. There's a tiny one in here that's just starting.
Okay, and then it looks like you've got some Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus just laying there on the soil.
Yep.
And they're going to root just laying there.
That's the one that's rooting.
Okay. And what is that again?
Donkey tail.
Okay.
And as they fall off, I stick them in here to get them started. And any segment of the plant will make a new one.
Okay, and these are all the succulents over here. So what are these ones in the cups?
They're called rice plants.
Okay.
And this is blue wheat.
So is that actually wheat or is it a
Yes,
type of
it's a wheat.
And is it going to be a perennial or an annual? How long is that going to live in the fairy garden?
In the house, I think it'll live a long time. And it's so easy to replant.
And I see you've got some miniature roses back here.
Yeah. Yes, I have. And many times I select the plants for the specific container. I have a hurricane fern to go in the dory garden.
So that's the blue wheatgrass. And so we're growing it for that beautiful blue seed head.
And I planted regular wheat and the blue wheat came up faster by a week. And it stands up better because these things are moved around and jostled. I have cats that walk through this.
So I see you've got a lot of ferns back in there. And do you know the variety, the names of those ferns?
One's a button fern, one's a miniature Boston. There is a hurricane fern in the back.
Okay.
I use those for wet gardens, so I can fill them up. And there's also a water brown arrow plant back there that likes water.
And then you've got some other plants up here that are a little bit more glossy leaved.
These are coffee trees.
Okay.
That I'm torturing so I can get them to go around the straw so they can circle.
Okay.
There's parlor palms, ponytail palms. I have a design for a baseball garden. I'm going to plant in the hat. And so I thought a ponytail palm would be appropriate for a baseball cap.
Okay. So we're going to go upstairs and have a demo on how you actually put all this together. Okay, so now we're up in the workshop where things actually start to get put together. And Susie's going to talk about the different tools that are needed for putting together a fairy garden. So Susie, you want to talk about some of the items in front of us?
I do. This plastic is used to line holy containers. Not religious holy, but holy containers. So what I do is I measure from here all the way to the other side, cut my piece of plastic out, and then use sticky dots to hold it down.
Okay.
And then once I've got it completely secured, I trim the edge so it looks neat and you can't see the plastic. I'm doing that with this, which I intend to plant with herbs. So it's a kitchen garden. This is an old sifter. I can't make it waterproof with silicone, so I'm using plastic the same way.
Okay, so you're putting the plastic on the bottom of the sifter screen.
Yes.
Okay, and what kind of plastic are you using?
It's a thin plastic that you can buy at Walmart. It comes in a package. If you use the heavier weight, you can't get it to form to the container as well. So it's quite thin. Easy to use. Comes in a huge sheet in a packet.
Okay.
I use the
Okay, so we've got some vinyl plastic that we're going to line the bottom of a colander with, and then we're going to use vinyl plastic to line a sifter, a common kitchen flour sifter. And then talk a little bit more about some of these tools here.
Well, if you have a cactus that's really prickly and you don't want to touch it because you don't want to get pricked or stuck, plant it with this. It's easy to hold on to them, and all you have to do is arrange the soil around their roots.
Okay.
And then let go. The silicone I use to do stuff like this to line it so it's waterproof is this silicone.
So you just use an inexpensive silicone.
Yes. And I used a caulk gun as well.
Okay.
Because we could be there for days if you don't.
Okay.
All right. I'm also recommending to keep your soil sweet. After you put your gravels down, you put this over your gravel.
Okay.
It enhances the nutrition in your soil so it doesn't wash out with water. I use this to stabilize any containers that are going to sit on a table.
Okay, and so that's not going to hurt the furniture.
No.
Okay. So would you take the lid off the activated charcoal so we can see what that looks like?
Of course. I would not recommend your barbecue charcoal.
No, you want to use a clean charcoal that's specifically for either plants or, in this case, you're using a aquarium filter.
Well, we don't have available activated charcoal anyplace else than the pet store. Not in Cheyenne. These mosses are used to top dress your garden, and it helps it hold the moisture while your new plants are getting their roots well established in the garden. And it's decorative, along with the pine cones. And I use sticky dots.
And where did you find the pine cones at?
At Hobby Lobby.
Okay. And then where did you get the moss at?
At Hobby Lobby, although Walmart's carrying.
Okay.
Glue dots I use around the vinyl.
Okay.
But if that doesn't hold well enough, you can use rubber cement.
Okay.
but it does have fumes. So be careful if you have birds in the house. And you have to put that on both sides. Let them dry and then contact them. Okay, how about we talk about soils?
Okay.
All right. The first thing you do with a fairy garden is control the drainage. And I do that with gravel.
Okay, is this any special gravel?
No.
Or?
And it hasn't been washed either.
Okay.
Now, if I'm going to do a succulent garden, I use the cactus mix because it's got more perlite and pebbles in it. That makes it lighter and it drains easier. For the regular small house plants, I use a good potting soil.
Okay.
And you also need a paper towel because you're going to use that paper towel shaped in the side and shape of your container to cover your gravel. So your soil doesn't integrate into your gravel. You keep them separate.
That makes sense to put a layer there, a filter layer there.
Okay. Now, I also recommend that you make a plan for your container, your garden. And this is the plan for this garden.
Okay, so we've got a rope basket, and you have completely lined the inside of that rope basket with the silicone.
Right.
And now you've got a design, you've laid out a plan, you have a plan for where all the plants are going to go. So the plants in the middle, are those going to be your bigger plants or smaller plants?
They're the ones that get taller. What you call is the thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the spillers. And these two over here are the middle ground.
Okay.
So you've got the tall ones in the center, the small ones that drape over the side around the edge, and a couple around the big ones to fill it in the space.
So we're going to put gravel on the bottom of the little basket, then we're going to put some paper towel over it, and then we'll put our good soil on top of that.
No, because this is a cactus garden,
It'll
use the cactus mix.
Okay. And are we going to do that today? Or?
No, we're going to work on this one. The prickly pink park the car Barbie car. It's going to have a paddle cactus as the driver and hens and chicks because it's a chick mobile and a chick in it. I think you should tell a story with your gardens.
Okay, I see you've got little eyes on your cactus. That's your driver.
Yes, I had to make special trip for that.
And there's a hen and chick right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so go ahead, and I guess we're gonna try to minimize the mess.
Oh, always, because I have carpet on the floor. And I do want to show you that you can, I hate this term, but think outside the box for your fairy gardens. This is going to be planted with seeds, and this is intended to support vines. And what I did was I took the keyboard apart, and what I painted on was the internal portion of the keyboard.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to fill the little wells, the little key slots, with soil.
Yes.
With seed starting mix. And what kind of seeds are you going to start in here?
Well, vine for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And wheat over here because this is wheat, dry wheat land.
Right.
I want to plant and some cactuses, some sedums, and maybe hen and chick, something that's not going to get huge.
And so how do you water something like this?
I get the soil wet before I plant.
Okay.
and then I use a squirt bottle.
Okay.
So anything that looks droopy gets squirted.
Okay. And so what kind of vines are you going to grow up the little wires?
Oh, I don't know yet. I'm still deciding because I'm thinking about a blue flower to go with the background
Mm-hmm.
or a red one that stands out.
Okay. So something that's going to be fairly small leaved,
Mm-hmm.
maybe bloom.
Oh, absolutely. You want to bloom. Although you need to choose something you right that's small enough to fit in here.
Okay.
And I don't think morning glories or sweet peas are small enough.
Okay.
So that's that one. Here's our selection of plants for the day. It's amazing variety. See, these little guys would fit in there. And what you do is you pinch off a piece, take the lower leaves off, and stick it in the soil.
Okay. And it looks like you've got some basil in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For the colander garden, you can do a smelly garden.
A fragrance garden.
Yeah. Well, basil, rosemary, and mint. I'll have to cut them down. Well, these two will be in there, and this around the edge.
Okay.
So it really is a kitchen garden. I do want to show you again how these plants make baby plants.
So you've just set that on the soil, kept it moist,
Mm-hmm.
and it's producing a little tiny rosette of plant material where the roots are. And so that's your new plant.
Yes.
Okay.
And by the time it's ready to plant, this part of the leaf will almost be gone. It will desiccate. So now, should we come over here and show them all the potential?
Okay. And then we're going to talk a little bit about different types of containers that you can put a fairy garden in. And Susie, you want to talk about some of the items that we've got here?
Well, I want to appeal to young kids, so I want to build a couple of truck gardens.
So we've got a little truck down here. It's a little truck within a truck.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought I'd decorate the top with the scoop.
Okay. So that dump bed is perfect for planting.
It had to be sealed with the silicone.
Okay.
This truck, I lined with plastic, but I painted the shellac on it because sometimes you miss with your water and you don't want your containers to warp. Now these purses have been shellacked so they're watertight. And so keep it open so I can keep the plants thriving, I had to figure out some way to hold them open. And that's why you see the chapstick.
Okay.
It holds it open and it's appropriate for a purse.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a purse open up like a suitcase.
Depends on how much you carry.
Yeah, I suppose.
I looked all over because this has been shellacked. It's waterproof, although it's paper.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled to find minions. And I came across 12 of them.
Oh, there you go.
So this is what I'm going to use to decorate my minion garden.
And so what have you shellacked the interior of this?
Mm-hmm.
Will you add any plastic to it? Or
No, I think not because I tested it. It's waterproof.
Okay, just the shellac alone.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Same thing with this. This is going to have the hurricane fern. This will be a wet garden.
Okay. And how did you waterproof the inside of that?
With shellac as well.
Okay. And where do you buy the shellac at?
I get it's Cannel Seal Shellac. It's low VOCs,
Mm-hmm.
so I can do it in here and it doesn't affect my birds. And I can, now this one, I'm going to line with cactus. It's going to sit just like this and have the plants spilling out. It'll be situated on a board so it doesn't roll.
Okay. And that'll have what, the plastic vinyl film in there?
Or you can use mylar. I chose this because it's opalescent. You'll be able to see it through the picture.
Okay.
I can use that for this basket as well. This you can get at your local hobby store.
And I see you've got a lot of like soup bowls and cups and ceramic baskets, wicker baskets, and just a whole choice of fun stuff. Now that looks like
It's a toothbrush holder.
okay.
I'm going to put the toothache plant in there
Okay.
and some toothbrushes. So you don't always have to fill your garden up with accessories you don't need. Now this is a baseball cap that goes with the mitt and baseball. They're going to be attached to a home run plate.
Okay.
I'm going to plant in here and I'm going to have a ponytail palm coming up the hole.
Okay. So this feels really stiff and rigid. So you've already shellacked it.
Yes,
then.
it's had 3 coats because it's fabric. I don't want any leaks.
Okay. And it's still shapeable, so you can make it a little bit more roundish.
Yes. See, you can still push. It takes a while, bit, but you can still shape it. And I'm going to have to bring this up so my ponytail comes right out here.
Okay.
And I may have to Velcro the ponytail to pull it up so it looks like a ponytail. Yeah, don't limit yourself. That was a candle holder that I cut this pointy part off and put the glass jar on it with the silicone.
Okay. And then I see there's a star basket over here. And I see you've got the mylar in there already, the vinyl. And so that's just going to become another little fairy garden.
I have berry baskets down here. I'm sealing them up. That berry basket's probably going to have plastic in it because it's just not sealable.
Okay.
And I intend to put strawberries and wintergreen because they both have berries. So what I tried to do is match the plant to the container.
All right. Very good. So now you're going to show us how to.
Let's go over here and look at some finished ones.
Okay. So you've got a really cute one here with a little clock where you've taken the dials out, and there's a little bird in there. Time's a ticking garden. That's very, very cute. I like the little bird in there. And
that was tricky to make, but it was fun.
Then Mr. McGregor's garden.
That one I had to make sure I put a bunny in.
And I like the little white picket fence you've added into there. So these fairy gardens are a lot more than just plants. There's all sorts of fun little creatures.
My daughter-in-law would call that doodadery.
So there's just a lot of interest going on there. And then you've got some painted mushrooms in the back. And those are actual real mushrooms that you've dried and then painted, correct?
Yes. It's easy. Get a piece of styrofoam, a toothpick, and your mushrooms.
And you just let the mushrooms dry on the toothpick and then paint them when you're ready to go.
Right. I shellac them and then I paint them because they'll get soggy in the soil.
So we have a teacup here, Dumbo's Stomping Ground. That's very cute. And there's a little elephant, little Dumbo in there. And you've got all sorts of plants starting to grow.
It needs to be. You see that tiny plantlet again.
Yep. There's a little turtle in there. And then Cherub's Park. Got some little buns in there and a little ornament. Got a trellis, some little tiny plants, and then of course this one. And I'm assuming that's a coffee plant growing in there.
It is.
Nice.
Sorry if you make things appropriate.
So you should have fun with this.
Absolutely. There's no
Okay.
point in doing it if you're not having a good time.
Okay, so now we're going to put a fairy garden together.
Yes, we are.
Again, there's all the assortment of tools that not very expensive to put together. A lot of common items that you can find at the big box stores. And there's your plan. And we're going to plant the Barbie doll car.
Yes. Now Chris needs the plants.
Okay. So just taking another look here at all the different plants that Susie's put together and that you can use. Easy to start from cuttings or just lay them on the soil and get them to root. But there's kind of an unlimited approach to this. There's basil, is that tarragon or?
No, that's rosemary. And that's spearmint. That's turtle vine. And it can be somewhat of a dry plant.
Okay.
But it's moist in there because I'm trying to force it to root.
So all sorts of choices.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're going to plant the Barbie doll car, and Susie's already put some gravel in there for drainage. And then once the gravel's in there, you're going to put the paper towel on there just to keep the soil from commingling with the gravel and keep it a little bit cleaner.
Okay, make sure I cover up all of the gravel. And I'm going to get a pair of scissors to cut the excess. If you'd like, you're welcome to take a look.
Okay, so you've got that kind of custom fit in there.
Now I've decided to make this a chick mobile. So I'm going to use a paddle cactus and a hens and chick.
Okay.
What I like to do is take the plants down to bare root. They're easier to mess with when you're doing gardens like this.
Now the soil, is that slightly damp or is that dry?
No, you really should work with damp. Your potting soil should be damp. I don't dampen my cactus
Okay.
soil. We're going to fill this up as much as we can down in where the feet section of the car is. So the roots can go that direction.
And what are you going to do with this cactus, this fairy garden when you're done with it? Is this going to be a gift for somebody, or is this going to be added to your collection of fairy gardens?
Well, I'd like to find a new home for it. See, this isn't bare root, so it comes with a lot of soil. And then you have forced to position it, and we'll fill in later. This one was just taken out of the garden, so it doesn't have a whole lot of roots.
Okay, can we see what the roots look like, or lack of roots?
Okay. Well, it's got a big root here, but it doesn't have any.
There's just a few root hairs on there,
Yeah,
but not a lot. And it is a hen and chick, and they're pretty tough and durable. It's hard to kill those.
Yep. And so we'll position it here. Add more soil. Gotta cover his roots up, roots up. I like to fill them all the way to the top. Ow, ow. This is one that you use tongs on.
It does have a few thorns on it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I chose it because it was less thorny, more prickly, as the name would indicate. And to make sure you get the message that this is a chick-mobile. There's the chick. So, and I give all my gardens names just because I name my trees too. Now that's dirty. But this one is ready to water, and it's done. And we made very little mess. All this can be swept by hand into the trash or back into the bag of soil.
Yeah, this wasn't a very messy project. Okay, we're now going to look at planting some other objects, and one of them is going to be this little cup, this coffee mug, and then we're going to plant the truck. So Susie, you want go ahead and explain what you're doing again?
Okay, we're putting the gravel in the bottom.
Okay.
We're going to still have a thorn on that prickly thing. And because I want to teach you that you don't have to fill it out completely. Okay, I'm going to need the other soil.
So you've completely taken that little parlor palm out of the soil. And so it's just the...
I'm also going to put a base on it so it's planted same level that it grew in. So we have base of soil, not big enough. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, now I need the potting soil. This really should be moist when you do that.
So just a little damp.
Yeah.
And if not, you can water it later.
Right.
When you're done.
Push it back on the table so I don't get it on the carpet. Just keep pushing the soil in. You notice this is off center because I'm going to put another plant in there. Just a couple.
So even though this is a tiny planter, essentially, for a parlor palm, you can pinch the parlor palm back or prune it back to keep it small.
And this has two of them. So what I'm doing is I'm twisting them together so they become one, but I need another tool.
So this high-tech tool that you've grabbed is a skewer.
Yep. I'm going to make a hole for the turtle vines that I'm just going to pull out. I'm going to take the bottom leaves off.
And this is just going to root by itself.
I put it in. I want it facing out so it drapes over the cup.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to do one more. Sometimes less is better than more. Same thing. Leaves got to come off. Big hole. Poke it in. Press it down. This doesn't want to stay, so we're going to have to force it into the cup more. And there's your cup. All you have to do is put a doodad in it.
So it gets a little decoration in there. So keeping in the spirit of a fairy garden with little critters in there.
Well, that's why I chose the bear, because it says you're very special to me.
That's very cute.
Okay. All right, next we're going to do something fun. We're going to do a truck garden. Now, if I had celery, I have some potatoes downstairs we could put in it. But have fun with it. This is going to be a succulent garden because I don't think little boys will take good care of a non-succulent garden.
Okay, so there's some silicone in the back to keep the water from leaking out.
Yep.
There's the gravel so that we've got good drainage.
Well, this works as drainage rather than having to put it on a plate. Okay, we need paper towel.
So again, we're just going to put one layer of paper towel over the top of the gravel. And that just, again, filters out, keeps the soil from commingling with the gravel.
Yes.
Just keeps it a little cleaner.
I know I should have had all this done, just like a cooking show, but this is impromptu. I didn't know what I was going to plant. But you can use almost any container, like the keyboard. Your imagination is what limits you. Okay, we're going to use a paddle cactus.
One of those prickly guys.
Yes. Taking it down to the roots. We're going to put it this way so it's aerodynamical when the truck is going down the road.
Well, hopefully the truck doesn't go down the road too horribly fast.
It's one of those that you can rev up and it'll go. So, you know, kids can have a good time doing this. And moms, let them do it. Let them be creative. Let them make their own garden.
So where did you find the variety of plants that you've got here?
Well, I got them at Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot.
Okay. So the big box stores typically carry a lot of the plants that you've been using here.
And if you go to Gullies in Fort Collins, they have the fairy garden plants, and they're quite reasonable. And if you don't want to get your hands dirty, wear plastic gloves. Get over there. Oops, sorry. Let's put just a dab more in there. They were in the corners. Okay. Now we're going to fill rest of it.
So I see you've got quite a bit of soil in the dump bed of this little truck.
Mm-hmm.
Is that once you water it, it's going to settle a little bit and it won't be
Yeah.
quite as full?
I may have to put some more in as the soil settles. But to make this a little fuller, I'm going to put these succulents in. I'm going to tear them apart, poking them in the hole. They will root really fast.
Okay. So when you're planting this, do you have a plan in mind? Are you following? I know you've made a lot of fairy gardens, and so you kind of do this intuitively. But I noticed that the big guys are kind of going in the middle, and then the smaller ground cover-ish plants are going on the outside.
Well, you want to plant these like you're landscaping. And you always put the tall ones in the center of the garden so they can grow up and not obscure the rest of the garden.
Okay.
Then you put medium or middle-sized plants outside of the big one. And then you put the little ones up close so you can see them. So the little ones are the foreground. The the small ones are the foreground. Middle size is the midground. And what they call thrillers are the foreground or
Okay.
the center. Now, I can't decide whether I should put this guy in there or not. He might be a little big.
He is taking up a lot of space.
Yes, he is.
So
But we left space for this. Or I have one more thing you can put in.
So these are pretty versatile, and as plants start to outgrow, then you can always take them out and put something else in their place. So we put a little red wagon in there.
I want this to appeal to a little boy. And if you wanted, you could plant in the wagon. And I really think it needs one of these.
So we're going to put a little frog in there, add some more interest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very cute.
And it's done.
So
it
just
took what, 10 minutes to do it?
Yep, not very much time.
Mm-mm.
And we're going to water it a little bit later, and then the soil will settle, and we might need to add a little bit more soil.
We're going to put another one in here.
But this is all very easy. A lot of these plants are just self-starters, and they'll root on their own.
Yep.
They do need a little water. What kind of sunlight do you want this to have?
I want it to have 6 hours of light. Doesn't necessarily have to have sunlight. So you can light it. These have all thrived with the lights on all day.
Okay.
Just this light.
Okay. Just the average room light. And we've got some bright indirect sunlight coming off of an east window, and that's probably just about perfect for these guys.
But they need at least 6 hours of light to thrive.
What about fertilizing? Do you fertilize these?
I don't for at least 6 months.
Okay.
Because what happened, they overgrow the pot they're in.
Okay. So you fertilize what, once a year with a real light?
Yeah, I don't use a heavy. Although they now make a cactus fertilizer that you can spritz on.
Okay.
But never fertilize unless they're starting to look like they're not thriving. Then I add a little fertilizer.
Okay. And then if one plant dies, you just pull it out and replace it with something else, or maybe it's overgrowing and doesn't need a lot more.
These guys can't be pruned unless they get another paddle like this one. I chose this one because I thought she was waving at the crowd. But these can be trimmed back.
Okay.
And made into another plant. And here, let's turn this so you can see.
It does look like she's waving with her pretty pink eyes and her pink car.
Well, the fun part of this is thinking what you're going to do and matching it to your container. That is truly the challenge of this. It's not planting plants.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody for watching. And we have been watching Fairy Gardens and Mini Landscapes presented by Susie with the Laramie County Master Gardeners, part of the University of Wyoming Laramie County Extension Office. And for more information, this will be posted on the Laramie County Master Gardener website. So thank you for watching.